I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is PsycHacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is, most men are romantics. So this statement flies in the face of what most people believe. Isn't it the women who are interested in flowers and candlelit dinners and wedding bells, etc.? Turns out that this is only the most superficial conceptualization of romanticism. Once I reveal the belief at the core of romantic love, you'll understand that most men on this planet today are romantics, especially in the Western world. Let's get to it. In the sexual marketplace, things are not always what they seem. For instance, many women are romantic on the surface and pragmatic at their core. They are making cold, rational decisions about who to mate and date, and often do a great deal of social research into their targets and use all kinds of strategies to secure the best possible deal for themselves among their available options. On the other hand, men tend to be pragmatic on the surface and romantic at their core. There's even this popular machismo that struts around and crows, "Man, I don't care. I don't even need women." They're stone cold up until the girl walks out the door, and then they're a mess for weeks or months afterwards. Never trust a woman generally means, of course, that the man in question once, in fact, trusted a woman. Probably because he was under some illusions with respect to how women love. A lot of angry men are actually spurned romantics who still cling to their beliefs about how things are supposed to be. And this becomes even clearer when we appreciate the most common male romantic belief. It's not what you expect, but if you can understand why this one belief might be true, then it opens the door for everything else that I've been teaching on this channel about intersexual dynamics. This is key. And it's going to hurt me to say it because it's actually a really beautiful idea. It's just not based in reality. And here it is. The most common male romantic belief is, I can be loved for who I am. That's it. This is a romantic belief. And it's a romantic belief because it's based on fantasy. It's a beautiful fantasy, mind you, the idea that you can be loved just for who you are or accepted as intrinsically enough. And deep down, that's what most men want. Let me tell you women out there, it would be so easy to get any man that you wanted. All you have to do is cater to this romantic fantasy. I don't need any of that stuff those other girls need. I'm not materialistic. I love you for you. And I love you just the way that you are. Just being with you is enough. Every man in his heart of hearts wants to hear this from his woman. And that's the fantasy. The fantasy is, as a man, you can just be. And that who you are can be sufficient to secure the love and loyalty of a woman. And it's not. I really, really wish it were, but it's not. You can have that kind of relationship maybe with your parents, though not all of us are that lucky. Maybe with your dog. You can have it with God, but you cannot have it with a woman that you're in an adult relationship with. The fact of the matter, men, is that you have to provide benefit to a woman in order to justify her choosing you over all of her other available options. She's there because of what you do for her in terms of resources and lifestyle opportunity, and of what you do to her in terms of attraction and emotional experience. A woman is not going to choose a man for the love in his heart, or the beauty of his soul, or the understanding in his mind. That's not how women operate. They even have trouble considering a man's potential. It's what he does that counts. Now, before I go any further, if you're liking what you're hearing, please consider sending this video to someone who might benefit from its message, because it's word-of-mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. And you can also hit the super thanks button. It's the 3 little dots in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, and tip me in proportion to the value you believe you've received from this message, because it's your donations that make all of this happen. I couldn't do it without you, and I really appreciate your support. So, here it is. Men have to provide value in order to secure mating and dating opportunities. If you can accept the truth of this one statement, then everything else that I've been talking about with respect to the behavioral economics of relationship starts to make sense. It is essentially the red pill in one sentence. On the other hand, the blue pill is fundamentally romantic ideology, that I can be loved for who I am, that my loyalty and my virtue and my love can and should be enough to satisfy a woman. It's not. Women like romance, but they don't need it. What they need is value. When men don't have that to offer, they try to compete with the men who do by offering love instead. This is why I said that romance is for men. The idea that the intensity of my devotion or the purity of my love is something more noble, more refined than anything that can be bought or anything that a man with means and success can provide, and therefore should be prized higher than those things in a woman's decision-making, is ultimately a marketing strategy. It's an attempt to influence the perception of the target audience to increase demand for the commodity in question. In reality, we all know that it's not enough for a man to be loved by just being himself, because if it were, every man would be in a relationship. Every man would have women talking to him. Every man would have options with women. Remember, there's more of them than there are of us. So simple supply and demand should be working in our favor. And that is clearly not the case. What happens is that the top-level men are securing the vast majority of female attention. And they do this not because of who they are deep down inside, but because of what they've built and of what the women believe they could provide as a consequence of their status and success. That's why the women are there. And once you come to terms with that, you kind of have to grieve the idea that a purely romantic love with a woman is possible. Grief, I think it really is a grieving process. And this is hard for a lot of guys because it's actually a beautiful dream. If that's how the world worked, maybe the world would be a better place. A comment on one of my former videos sums this position up nicely. The person wrote, "Wouldn't it be great if we could just be who we are and people would love us for that instead of playing all the psychological games?" Maybe it would be great, but that's not the world we live in, my friend. And abiding in a fantasy ultimately causes more pain than accepting reality ever could. Something to consider. One final word of advice. If you'd like to learn more about this, I would highly recommend that you check out my playlist, The Truth About Romance. In that series, I break down many of the components of romantic love that together conspire to create tragic and unfulfilling outcomes for the romantics themselves. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've gotten this far, you might as well like this episode and subscribe to this channel. You may also consider becoming a channel member with perks like priority review of comments or booking a paid consultation. As always, thank you for listening.